Okay, good afternoon. I don't even know if I need this. Welcome to the Country Showcases breakout sessions. My name is Anna Nissinen. I am the Senior Vice President of Fairfax County Economic Development Authority, and I'm here today to present Greater Washington area. So we are a 24 jurisdictions comprising of Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Southern Maryland, and if you put us all together, if we were a country, we would be one of the top 5 countries when it comes to GDP in the world. So you're in the middle of it all, and I'm glad you're here today. And I do not want to eat into the time of Team Canada. I want to welcome you here, and I am excited to hear about your strategy for quantum future. So take it away.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael Rosenblatt, the Director of the National Quantum Strategy with the Government of Canada. I feel a little bit like Phil Donahue. You sort of walking around with my microphone. I'm going to hand it over to someone. I hope everyone has been enjoying the conference so far. It's been quite interesting. We had a number of interesting sessions the other day, both internationally as well as there was a pitch competition. I got to see a bit of it the other day, so congratulations to the Canadian companies that were part of that. And we had a great discussion on sustainability the other afternoon, amongst others. So what we're here for in today's session is to talk about the excellence of Canadian quantum companies, those of which that are here today and you'll hear from very, very shortly. As you know, we launched Canada's National Quantum Strategy back in January 2023. Seems like just yesterday, but it was a little while ago, and it's centered under the 3 missions of research, talent, and commercialization. We have a large strength from coast to coast with a number of the different hubs that are well represented today, as well as research excellence. Some of you may have seen Gilles Brassard, who was here in a couple of the sessions from the other day. So excellence from coast to coast. We have a growing ecosystem of about 100 companies, many of which you will see here today and throughout the conference to showcase all the work they're doing. We also have some representatives from Quebec. Maybe you want to show up your hand for a second. Folks from Quebec, 1 folks from Quebec, 2 folks from Quebec, as well as Quantum City from Alberta. I'm not sure if I didn't see her in today's session, but she's here at the conference to tell you, and they'd love to tell you all about it. So these companies are ready to tell you about all of their great technologies and all of the opportunities they have with us. Also, I'd like to send a special shout out to thank colleagues from the Canadian Embassy here in Washington for Anja, Isabel, and Alan, who all helped make today's session possible. They're also here for you to talk to. In the pitch books that you'll see on the table, they also have the contact information for all of us should you need to get hold. So without any further ado, I will turn it over to Lisa. Okay.
Thank you. And what I will do, I'll pass this down to you for after. I've got a lav mic. Can everyone hear me? Perfect. Welcome, bienvenue tout le monde. It is a pleasure to have you here and to bring a little bit of Canada down to the Greater Washington area. As Michael was saying, there's the tradition of quantum excellence in Canada. I've heard Canada or seen Canada spelt with a Q instead. So I think of over in Vancouver, we've got an attraction there called Fly Over Canada, where you get beautiful 4D views to see beautiful Canadian landscape. You can kind of think of this as Fly Over Canada, Canada with a Q, to get a bit of a tour of the Canadian quantum industry ecosystem. And it's one that has a lot of strength. So Michael talked about BB84 and with Gheorghiu Rafal being here. So 40 years ago, it's hard to believe. Gheorghiu Rafal with Charles Bennett developed the first quantum cryptography protocol. Canada's home to the first commercial quantum computing company that's also here as part of the showcase. Canada's also home to the first dedicated quantum software company and the first and only startup to demonstrate quantum computational advantage, and that company is here as well. So lots of tradition, lots of success for Canada so far. I'm going to hear a little bit more about that. So a bit of structure for the session today. We're going to do 2 mini panels, so it'll move really quickly. I'll introduce the first one, and about halfway through, we'll bring on the second panel. It'll be more focused on quantum computing. But for now, I want to briefly introduce our panelists. I will just share their name and their name of their company, and then they will share a little bit more about themselves. So Raja, I will start with you. This is Raja Singh from bioAro.
Hello, thank you for having us. And my name is Raja, and I'm a clinician by training. My training is in cardiology. And the focus of bioAro is on developing AI-based platforms that we have developed for analysis of genomics, epigenomics, proteomics, microbiome, transcriptomic data, and its integration into clinical care along with electronic health records and imaging data from the patients. Should I go on?
That's great. Okay. Perfect. Cara Wolf with Ammolite Security.
Hi, thank you for having me here. Every 39 seconds, critical infrastructure faces a cyber attack, with the US being targeted the most and Canada ranking 5th. Attacks on utilities have quadrupled in the past year, and cybercrime is now so pervasive that its proceeds exceed those of all other crimes combined, reaching over $10.5 trillion annually by 2025. At Ammolite Security, we provide quantum resilient military-grade cybersecurity solutions with deep domain expertise in energy, financial services, and defense. Our patented secure communication technology employs per-packet encryption, with each packet of data encapsulated by quantum random number generated keys. This method ensures that every packet is encrypted individually before transmission, making it secure and unreadable even if it's intercepted. We also apply detailed policies to each packet to determine who can see the data, when and where, ensuring data sovereignty and compliance. In addition to our advanced technologies, we offer comprehensive training and advisory services, including CMMC assessments. Our solutions are trusted by high-profile organizations like the US State Department, Lockheed Martin, the UK Royal Mint, and are implemented in high-risk environments such as Mexico, Afghanistan, and the Ukraine. I'm Cara Wolf, CEO of Ammolite Security. With our commercially available quantum resilient military-grade solutions, expert training, and advisory services, we're committed to safeguarding your data and today's evolving threats and preparing you for the challenges of quantum computing of tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks, Cara. And Nick Werstiuk, CEO of Quantum Valley Ideas Lab, or QVIL.
Thanks, Lisa. So Quantum Valley Ideas Lab is an applied research lab based in Waterloo. Our mission is to accelerate the commercialization of quantum technologies with a focus on quantum sensing. We look for interesting ideas and people with those interesting ideas at TRL 2 to 3, and then bring them into our organization and work towards developing the IP and the technology, investing in the development of that technology towards a TRL 6-7 commercial-ready prototype, and then we create spin-out companies to then commercialize that technology into specific market segments. Our focus has been on quantum sensing, 2 projects on atomic sensing for RF, so red-brig atom sensing, 1 for 5G network monitoring, 1 for radar. We have a navigation project for a gyroscope underway, and a 2-photon cesium clock as well. So we have our first startup executing, bringing that first 5G product to market. Thank you.
Perfect. And Jerome Bourassa with Qubic Technologies.
Merci, Lisa. Yes, so at Qubic, we're solving the privacy problem of RF radios and radar systems. The problem is that troops on the ground have a very deep concern of turning their radio and radars up because when they do, they fear being attacked or jammed, and that's a very deep concern. So we're trying to solve this by developing microwave quantum hardware with the purpose of using entanglement in a way that we can hide the signals into the background noise. We've successfully done that in the lab, and we want to push that even further into the field testing and then ultimately into the hands of the military and defense people. Moreover, our technology is capable of detecting microwave signals down to the quantum limit, and so it's open to other applications as well, from communications, as I said, but also quantum computing and up to even space observation. So if you're interested, just reach out either on LinkedIn or just we can grab a coffee around town. No worries. So thank you.
Merci, Jerome. And Alex Myron with Phantom Photonics.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex, and at Phantom Photonics we're developing quantum LiDAR for dual use applications. This is a 3D imaging technology, and we're hoping to implement it in the air and outer space, but also underwater. And this last one's really important because LiDAR isn't really used underwater. Sonar has been the solution for 3D imaging underwater, and the ability to see in the murkiness of the ocean has been an ongoing issue. The inability to see, say in a military scenario, does put the lives of our servicemen and women at risk. If you think about something like a naval mine, if you can't see it, and so forth. Now, unfortunately, naval mines have developed the ability to detonate from sonar, and so it's no longer a safe sensing solution in that environment. Also, it does not have as good resolution as LiDAR does. And so, for a variety of reasons, we are trying to implement LiDAR in the underwater environment for dual-use applications. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex, and a congrats as well to Alex and the Phantom Photonics team. Just today it was announced that they've been selected for the phase 2 of NATO's Diana Accelerator, selected as only one of 10 companies. Perfect, thanks. Now we've done a little bit of a tool the tab. I'll go through some questions for our panelists so we can learn a little bit more about the work that they're doing. Raja, I want to come back over to you because your company's working in all kinds of omics. I'd love if you can tell us a little bit more about bioAro's interest in quantum.
So traditionally, how we are treating our patients is a one-size-fits-all, where the medicine that works for you is given to the person next door and the person sitting next to you. The approach we have is to follow a more precision medicine, personalized medicine approach, where we use genomics, epigenomics, transcriptomics, and proteomics and microbiome investigations to guide the physician and combine that with the imaging or the family history or the medical history of the patient. And so for that, we started about 4 years ago developing our own AI-based platforms for analysis of those verticals, the genomics, the microbiome, and all those other things. And so that's something which we have been providing through our labs, which are approved by the College of Physicians and the College of American Pathologists now for the last about 1 year. But one of the things that we realized was that we don't have the ability to do real-time parallel analysis of all those verticals. So that's where the interest in HPC and quantum computing began, because the interest we have is not in terms of developing the hardware, but being able to do all of those modalities in real time in parallel, because they all impact each other. So the software that we have right now, it's the fastest software anywhere in the world that I'm aware of, which can do end-to-end genomic analysis in less than 7 hours. And the next thing for us is how we can integrate and combine those modalities either through the use of HPC. So for example, now we are working on using some HPC tools, but we also have a small team that we have put together for developing quantum algorithms that would allow us to look at simulations that we can run for the scenarios that we have in real-time patients cases for oncology patients, cardiology patients, heart failure patients, all of those.
Amazing, thank you so much. And Cara, I want to turn over to you. It's an exciting time in the world of quantum-resistant solutions, especially with the new NIST standards coming out. But everything comes with a trade-off. I'd love to know, how are you viewing the balance between the need for quantum-safe security with performance considerations with quantum-resilient solutions?
Well, we all know the threat of quantum, so that's going to all of our encryption obsolete. So we're going to need to change over all of the organizations to quantum resilient technologies, which is not going to be an easy feat from the corporate level. And it's not very well understood at the C-suite level or at the senior executive level. It'll be a massive undertaking for everyone. So we're seeing a balance of being secure and providing good, solid, robust cybersecurity methodologies that we have available now, with a look forward to properly funding and resourcing for quantum adaptation in the future.
Awesome, thank you. I want to turn it over, we've got 3 sensing organizations here, so we'll shift over to sensing for a little bit of the conversation. Question for all 3 of you, because you're all navigating the space of dual-use technology. So I'm curious with that, what's that look like as you're trying to navigate both defense and commercial markets?
I can go first, I think. Yeah, so it is an interesting challenge as a Canadian company, because a lot of that defense and dual-use requirements start to flow between Canada and US. So working within the frameworks of the security and the data sharing and controlled unclassified information makes things a bit complicated. We have had some success though. We've had multiple awards from DARPA to develop our technology. So for Canadian innovators, there's opportunities to pursue building into that ecosystem. And through those DARPA programs, we've been fortunate to engage with some large American organizations to kind of try and collaborate. We don't imagine we would build a product that would be massively deployed in the defense industry. I think we see a partnership strategy to have a bigger partner take that technology to market into those specific use cases and deal with a lot of the other security and classification issues.
Perfect, thanks. Jerome?
Yeah, and following up on what Nick said, I think for us the strategy is to use really the defense and military traction that we have to push the technology forward, the higher TRLs, towards our North Star, which is really to provide a covert communication and radar system in the future. Now, it's that said, you know, defense is kind of they have their own cycles, they have their own way of doing things, and it can be slow for a startup, right, to go into that route. And so having another more commercial civilian application really kind of helps to generate early revenue. And so we kind of see that as to different verticals that we can tap into. And one of the things is that that we're currently exploring is other than the full system kind of approach, we can piecemeal a little bit of the technology and look at, oh, there's a specific key component like a quantum amplifier that we're actually going to build and building right now, and that could be very useful for other sectors like quantum computing, for instance, or even in the space industry where having extra sensitivity but very low heat dissipation is extremely useful. So we're kind of looking into that, and hopefully that's going to pan out.
Great, thank you, Jerome. Alex, is there anything you want to add?
Nick and Jerome really covered it well. I would say that defense, as I've been told, is not a business model. It is an opportunity. And so we're using it as an opportunity to develop our very deep tech and then to implement it further down the road into the market when it's a little bit higher TRL. We're very lucky to have the US right next door, and through the Diana program we've also been lucky to be exposed to the European market and the entire NATO alliance. So yeah, I think you guys covered it really well.
Great, thank you. And maybe I'll open up to everyone on this one, but if you can each share just a little bit more of where you're at today and what are some of the key milestones you're focused on achieving in, say, the next 1 to 3 years. And Raja, maybe we'll start over with you on this end.
So our initial investments were mostly focused around AI-based development of platforms. And once we had those, the focus shifted towards how we can increase their efficiency and speed. And that's where the focus shifted towards HPC-based approaches. Most of that has been into HQP from our Canadian universities, mostly working with University of Calgary, University of Alberta, University of Lethbridge. We do a lot of work with McGill. And that has been on the development of the in-house resources where we don't have to depend on bringing those technologies in. But now for the last 6 months, the investment is focusing more towards the area of HPC and quantum computing, where we are looking to, so we have some discussions ongoing with a couple of groups now, where we are looking at developing certain algorithms, quantum algorithms, which will allow us to do simulation of the work scenarios that we have for patients in real life and see if HPC or quantum computing would be a better modality for us. So that's how we are focusing our investments more into HQP and development of resources, which would allow us to keep everything in-house rather than licensing or bringing it in from outside sources. And we have filed multiple patents on the technologies we're developing. We have our own blockchain technology, which we are using for storage and encryption of some of the data. And we have built an NFT around it, so the patient data can be used by the patient for transactional purposes also.
And Raja, if I can just ask a follow-up question as well, because I think it's really interesting where you're looking at really applying quantum technologies within the space of precision medicine. Curious, how are you balancing that investment in quantum innovation with development of classical solutions, and what's guiding your decision-making process?
I think the holy grail for us has been how we can use these modalities for real-time analysis and integration of the various verticals. And so the investments have mostly been driven by what is the most efficient and accurate way of doing it, where the noise that we have in the analysis of the patient data is the minimum. And at the same time, we are able to maintain a certain level of privacy and patient data security, which doesn't compromise that patient confidentiality in any way. Like we built an algorithm which allows us to strip any patient data that you give us. It allows us to strip every identifying information around the patient from that, right? So we are prioritizing them in a manner that allows us to not lose sight of the privacy and confidentiality of the patient data, but at the same time doesn't compromise the efficiency and the accuracy of the data and the analysis process that we are following.
Wonderful, thank you. And Cara, I'll pass it over to you as well if you want to talk about some of the key milestones on the horizon for Ammolite security.
Well, currently right now, we're in an education process to shift the thinking from a breach of network security to protection at the packet level. So a lot of corporations that we're doing implementations and having conversations with right now don't understand the novel architecture that we're deploying in organizations. So we're doing a lot of education. We're doing a lot of education at the layman term and a lot of education at the technical level as well. So our key milestones is to educate in a different zero trust architecture with zero trust data, and then encourage companies to adopt the technology and use it commercially. So we're seeing very good success in high trust, high profile implementations, and then we would like to spread that out more to more corporate adoption and then down to small and medium sized businesses.
Amazing, thank you. And Nick, I know you've got some exciting things, the new spin-off and some other things in the work.
Yeah, so I think of the problem in, or I think of kind of our progress based upon the projects we have underway. And so the first project was to develop this sensor for 5G network operators and device manufacturers. So that product's being transitioned to a startup called WaveRide Instruments. A startup formed last year. They'll have alpha and beta product out early next year, and the target is to ship actual product next year. So we'll have a Rydberg quantum sensing based product in the market for 5G kind of use cases. The second project on the quantum, taking the Rydberg sensors towards radar and communications, that's probably about a year. You know, that'll be kind of commercial ready prototype next year, and then we'll start to think about how that transitions. And then the clock and the gyroscope are probably another year behind that. So they're making progress towards that, and we would expect to have a clock prototype in probably 18 months that can then be used in a range of alternative PNT use cases. So those are kind of the way we think of it. The startup is growing. So far we're seeding them, and they're kind of growing under our wing, but they're on their path to trying to raise money and scale to, you know, from the 5 or 6 people now to the dozens of people that they'll need to be successful.
That's great. Thanks so much, Nick. And Jerome, over to you with microwave sensing.
Yes, thanks to the traction that we have, the Canadian Defence as a client, we're currently building a new prototype that's going to be live next year, where it's going to be the world's first microwave quantum sensing platform capable of using quantum resources both on the transmit and on the receive capabilities. And so we're hoping to open up the platform to numerous partners to try out the technology and validate its performance. One of the core elements of the technology are the quantum amplifiers that we're actually building right now. And our plan is to have amplifiers that within 2 years are going to be competitive against cryogenic low noise amplifiers, semiconductor based. That would provide higher sensitivity, but also close to no heat load, orders of magnitude less heat load. So that would be very promising for different industrial sectors. And so with that, hopefully we get into the commercialization and really scaling up the company as we go forward.
Perfect, thank you, Jerome. And Alex, last but not least, what's on the horizon?
On the horizon, so we are trying to get our sensor in the ocean. It's one thing to be testing in the lab with a large aquarium, putting stuff in the water. It's another thing to actually be exposed to nature and all of the chaos that is involved in that. All of the particles in the water, all of the waves, all of the animals, and so forth. So we're really looking forward to tackling those challenges and getting our system to work. Also, we are working on a contract with Canadian Defence. We are building a stealth LiDAR for the free space use case, an ultra long range stealth LiDAR. So hopefully we can get that up and running by mid next year. That's where we're at.
Amazing. It's amazing to see the journeys with all these companies and where things are going and what's happening. You've gotten a little bit of a taster from these 5 companies. We will give them a round of applause and thank them. And they'll be around for some follow-up, and I'll invite our quantum computing panel too up to the stage. Wherever you would like. One thing in Canada I think is really exciting in our ecosystem is we've got a number of different quantum computing hardware companies approaching some different architectures to building a quantum computer. And we also have someone here who works on the software, the compiler side of things as well from a platform agnostic point of view. So I'll allow them to introduce themselves. And Rafal, I will start over this way with Rafal Janic, COO from Xanadu.
Thank you so much. So at Xanadu, we have a pretty simple mission. It's to build quantum computers that are useful and available to people everywhere. That useful part is doing a lot of heavy lifting. You know, we have a lot of quantum computers today, but we still have to deliver on the promise of that. And we're taking a little bit of a different approach. We're building it on a photonic platform. It has some really big benefits in terms of scalability, manufacturability, being able to operate mostly at room temperature. But we pay for all of that by the beginning part being really, really difficult. We've been around 8 years working on this goal. Actually, our 8th anniversary is just coming up next week. And it's been a pretty big challenge. Over that time, we've stood up 7 different quantum computers, most recently Bourassa, a quantum computer that was able to demonstrate quantum computational advantage or quantum supremacy. So this is solving a task that would take a supercomputer 7 million years to do in about 5 minutes. Unfortunately, it's a task nobody here actually cares about. To figure out how to do that now in a meaningful level, we're working towards a large-scale, fault-tolerant data center. And we're also working on the algorithmic side. So we work with partners like Volkswagen, Toyota, DARPA, and a series of other both commercial and government labs to actually find truly meaningful algorithms for quantum computers. Today, we maybe know how to do 3 different things on a quantum computer. And in order to, again, deliver on that promise of curing cancer, solving climate change, we need to come up with new approaches. That's the hardware side. We also have a very big focus on software. We lead the development of Penny Lane, which is the leading framework for programming quantum computers. I see my IBM friend smiling at me because Qiskit is our closest competitor. But now that when we talk to our partners at various different hardware companies, we have learned that the majority of jobs being submitted to non-IBM hardware are being submitted through Penny Lane. We also focus on the quantum compilation side. So we have a new project that we've kicked off called Catalyst. And this is actually understanding how do you take modern algorithms that are being developed by algorithm developers and actually run them on real hardware. This is not possible today, mainly because you submit a circuit and get the answer back. And the programs that people actually want to run are much more complex. So we're borrowing from big data, big AI fields, and how they approach the compilation of their programs and distribution. And we're using MLIR and LLVM to actually build out that stack for quantum computing. Not something we're doing alone. We're doing with other hardware vendors as well as some non-for-profit organizations like Open Quantum Design from Waterloo.
Thank you. And Andrew Kang, Senior Distinguished Scientist at D-Wave.
Hi, my name is Andrew King. I'm a scientist at D-Wave. D-Wave, I feel needs no introduction, but it often does, more than I think, just because I'm so embroiled in what goes on there. We've been around since 1999, so it's a 20th century company with a 21st century attitude. And I think we're probably the only quantum company that is older than some of our employees. Most of our, so we are developing gate-based and quantum annealing-based superconducting systems, and all of our commercial products are annealing-based. So the flagship system right now is the Advantage system, which is over 5,000 qubits, and we use that to demonstrate the largest programmable quantum simulation to date. The newest, latest and greatest system online is a 1200 qubit Advantage 2 prototype, and we use that to demonstrate computational supremacy in a quantum simulation application. So I'm very excited to get the full-size 7,000 qubit version of that up and calibrated. We're a full stack company, so we have software solutions and hardware solutions, and through our LEAP online platform, people can access our cloud-based systems from 39 countries.
Perfect, thank you. And Julien Camira-Lemire, CEO of Narquantic.
Yeah, happy to be here today. So Narquantic is a quantum computing hardware company, also on a mission to deliver fault-tolerant quantum computer. What we're doing at Narquantic is trying to solve one of the industry most pressing problem is the fact that current machines makes a lot of errors. So when you try to run algorithms in a machine, it's extremely difficult to run useful application, and to do this, we need vanishing error rates. And at Quantic, we've been on that problem since our inception 4 years ago. And since that, we demonstrated the capability of producing logical qubits. So these are qubits that can have this capability of detecting and correcting error to suppress errors in computation with market-leading error correction performance. Right now, we're a seed-stage company, so lower stage than my fellow colleagues here. And we are progressing toward that roadmap of delivering 10 logical qubit with an accessible system into 2 years from now. Happy to be here.
Thank you. And Vlad Gheorghiu, CEO and President of SoftwareQ.
Hello, glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation to speak at this panel. So I'm Vlad, I'm the CEO of SoftwareQ. We are a quantum software company. We are based in Waterloo, Ontario. Our goal is to basically build the best quantum software out there. So this seems like a triviality when I say it, but so I want to elaborate a little bit more on it. Our founders have around 60 years of experience in quantum computing, so that's more than half a century. We've invented like seminal quantum algorithms that are used everywhere, and you see them in your textbook, like quantum collision finding, multi-qubit compilation, quantum amplitude estimation, quantum eigenvalue estimation, etc. Our main area of expertise is quantum software, quantum compiling, quantum circuit optimization, and quantum resource estimation. We were, I think, the first company to actually do realistic quantum resource estimation back in 2016, where we looked at a large quantum circuit and estimated what are the resources to run it and whether it pans out or not. Our clients include like big names like DARPA, Raytheon, the government of Canada. I see Michael smiling. I'm very happy about this, hopefully. New Quantum, so we have international collaboration with a UK partner. We are working also with a few clients in Europe and clients in Canada as well. We are one of the companies in quantum computing that actually pay taxes. So we are profitable. We are not looking actively for investment. We have a base of clients. What I would say is that in general, quantum algorithms is hard. Figuring out how to run quantum algorithms from from an abstract layer to the physical layer is very difficult. So we are extremely good at doing that. So that's where we focus on. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alexandra Daoud, Vice President of Intellectual Property and Regulatory Affairs at Anyon Systems.
Thanks, Lisa. Hi, everyone. I'm Alexandra. Thanks for being here to listen. I'm with Anyon Systems. So we are a superconducting, a universal quantum computing company. We build quantum computers. We've been around since 2014, have operations in Montreal and Waterloo. I'm going to go through 3 fun facts about Anyon to hopefully you'll remember who we are. So the first one is that we are vertically integrated along the hardware stack. So that means that we make our own dilution systems, we make our own quantum electronics, we make our own chips. And the reason for that is we believe that in order to build fault-tolerant quantum computers, we need to understand all of the subsystems, we need to be able to scale, and unless you've actually developed the expertise in all of these subsystems, we think it's important to have that in order to be able to build the fault-tolerant quantum computers. Secondly is we deliver products. So a little bit for the same reasons, we deliver products because we want to validate the technology as it evolves, as we move towards fault-tolerant quantum computers. That's been our philosophy since the beginning. We started with a simulation tool that taught us that we have the tool we need in order to simulate circuits sufficiently to be able to build good quantum processors. Then we built a small quantum computer that we sold to the National Defense in Canada. And now we recently deployed a fully integrated quantum computer to an HPC center in Montreal. We believe that quantum computers will have the most value as hardware accelerators to supercomputers, and that's where we target the market for our systems. And then thirdly, we are moving towards fault tolerance. Our name,
right from the start was based on what our technology roadmap is. We have a path. We do believe that the fault-tolerant quantum computers will have significantly less than 1 million qubits. We have a qubit architecture that will allow us to do that. We intend to publish on that in the next 12 to 24 months. And as we keep moving forward, we are improving our technology, our next generations, keep integrating some of these new features that we have, and we're moving towards our goal of universal superconducting fault-tolerant quantum computers. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Alexandra. And I want to engage the panel a little bit in talking about the move towards practical quantum computing, useful quantum computing. It comes up a fair bit in this space. And maybe I'll start with Vlad on this one, because you're platform agnostic with the software that you're developing. How are you preparing for the transition from NISC-era devices to fault-tolerant quantum computers in terms of software development?
So we are looking at both verticals. Basically, we are looking at NISC computing, which, in my opinion, is a nice way of experimenting with current technologies and understanding what quantum computing is. But we believe, we strongly believe that fault tolerance is the way to go forward. So on the fault-tolerant layer, we are doing a lot of work in quantum error correction and fault-tolerant estimation of resources, like figuring out how large of a quantum algorithm you need to run certain problems. And on top of that, we are looking into something called distributed quantum compiling, in which we believe we can build logical qubits out of distributed, relatively small systems that you clamp together, and then you address them collectively as a logical qubit on, for example, on photonic architecture. So that's something that it's very exciting. It seems to be promising, and we are working actively on this. So at the end of the day, I think I strongly believe in fault tolerance. I don't have any. Like, if someone asks me to make a bet whether NISC is gonna pan out. By the way, NISC is noisy intermediate scale quantum. Like, in case you don't know, it's like what we have nowadays. There is no realistic quantum advantage on it, at least business quantum advantage, at least up to my knowledge. So I challenge someone to say something else. So we are firm believers in fault tolerance and working basically full time on that. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. And maybe Andrew, I'll jump over to you, because you've got with D-Wave a bit of a different approach with offering annealing-based systems today, and then also building towards fault tolerance through a superconducting system. Can you comment a little bit maybe about how you're addressing this in your conversations with customers?
Well, I think that we like to say that the future is hybrid, and the present is hybrid as well. So I'm a scientist, and I like to get into the nitty-gritty and avoid anything that is not done by the quantum processor. The clients don't always share my passion for quantum physics. They care about results. And so we do have a whole host of hybrid solutions that kind of broaden the set of inputs that you can do on the quantum processors. I do think that NISC devices, in particular quantum annealers, will be at the forefront in optimization for a very long time, a lot longer than anybody believes right now. And recently we have made some advances in coherent quantum annealing that should allow us to get in and get out and do coherent iterative and variational methods that should really push things forward in terms of scalable and practical optimization solutions with NISC devices.
Great, thanks. And Rafal, I don't know if you've got maybe a different perspective on this to offer, but maybe I'll frame it to you is that Xanadu's talking more and more about establishing and building a quantum data center. So maybe you can weave that into your response of where this ties into fault tolerance.
Lisa's setting me up to start an argument on the panel. I'm going to try to avoid it at all costs.
Not an argument, different approach.
No, I mean, I think our view is similar to Julian's and Vlad's, where I think to date there's been 11 demonstrations of quantum advantage on NISC-era devices, and within weeks of those publications, they've all been identified as having a classical approach that can actually outperform them, or some other caveat about why that claim is not actually valid. And this has been kind of persistent over the last decade and a half with companies trying to push this. And one of the reasons is that there's no actual proof that you can get a speed up for NISC-era devices. Whereas for fault-tolerant devices, we might only have a few, but we have a few algorithms that we know that will actually show exponential speedups over what we could do classically. So now it's not an incremental step, but we're actually talking about a fundamental change in something you could never do before is now available to you computationally. Unfortunately, in order to deliver that, we're not talking about a quantum computer that will be, a desktop or even a quantum computer within the next decade that will be able to live in this room. This is really going to be a data center. This is going to be hundreds of logical qubits, which with today's best overheads, we understand as millions of physical qubits occupying tens of thousands of square feet. And this is a very, very serious effort that I think more governments need to get behind in terms of actually building the infrastructure to support these pieces. Buying a NISC-era device doesn't actually teach you anything about how to integrate an HPC center with a fault-tolerant quantum computer. They're completely different beasts. So we started really pushing on this idea of funding, whether it be a Canadian national effort or an international effort, to build a fault-tolerant data center that can actually serve as a nucleation point, not only for the hardware development side, but also for the algorithmic development side. Because the other dirty secret of quantum computing is that even if we built the quantum computer today, many people wouldn't be able to take advantage of it because we haven't developed the algorithms yet. And we need to give people like Vlad access to these computers for him to actually be able to play with it in order to start developing the next generation set of algorithms and solving real problems.
Thanks, Rafal. And I know Alexandra may have a different perspective and a different approach, which is fun to see kind of the different ways that people are tackling these kind of issues. So Alexandra, over to you.
Sure. I definitely don't disagree with you, Rafal, that we need to move towards fault-tolerant quantum computers. And we say fault-tolerant, but what does that really mean? I mean, for each algorithm, there will be an error level that will be acceptable, right? So there will not be like one holy grail fault-tolerant quantum computer. You say when those machines come out and nobody will be able to develop algorithms. We definitely believe that, and we believe we need to train the workforce. And that's one of the utilities of the NISC systems, is to train the workforce. So we're strong believers in putting NISC systems out there to train the workforce and to educate ourselves in how to move towards the fault tolerance or utility scale quantum computers. Because even those working in the quantum companies, it's new to everybody. Nobody knows yet what it's going to be, what it's going to look like. So not only do we need to train the workforce for the future, we need ourselves to keep moving forward by learning about these systems, learning how to build them, how to make them better, how to keep improving them. So that's one of the usefulness of what everybody here on this panel is working on right now.
Thanks, Alexandra. And Julien, I want to give you a moment because Quantic is taking a very resourceful approach to being able to scale up these systems. Can you share a little bit more about your error correction approach and kind of where you're seeing this as the path towards fault tolerance and what some of the next steps will be towards practical quantum computing?
Yeah, sure. So I think it links also to how can we also avoid building super large quantum computer and have some form of fault tolerance before we reach that level of 1 million qubits. So I think we are a strong believer at Quantic that there is a path for this, and our path lies in the technology we are developing. So to be simple, so what we are developing with how it distinguishes from the competition is basically we have qubits that can be error corrected by themselves. So this is interesting in the perspective of reducing errors of single qubit, of course, but also by doing this, we learn information of like which qubit is faulty in the architecture, which drives also higher performance error correcting codes. Altogether, our approach is aiming toward a hardware efficient approach toward building fault tolerant quantum computing, trying to lower also the overheads in terms of how many qubits do we need for a logical qubit in a given application. So this is what we've been building. Also, I think we've been developing the company in a way that is also interesting, leveraging a lot of what is already there in terms of trying to build the company, but also build the technology, leveraging more than $1 billion investment in the infrastructure in the Canadian ecosystem. And I think this is something that is interesting also in Canada, especially how we can leverage a lot of what is already there and collaborate with different partners and different companies in building this ecosystem toward driving quantum computing further. And I think we have a strong competitive advantage as the Canadian community, leveraging this know-how and how we're structured, how we interact together.
That's great. Maybe that opens up to a follow-up question for anyone who'd like to jump in about what do you see as some of the advantages of being a Canadian company in the space of the Canadian ecosystem?
So yeah, I think I already mentioned something around this, so maybe someone wants to add it. But I think like this is a strong element to the Canadian story here. So maybe we don't have access to all of the money that you do have right now, but at the same time we're really efficient about how we use capital and how we create value, leveraging a lot of the innovations that is comes from the research and R&D sector, and driving this into making it a company, leveraging the ecosystem that is already there.
Yeah, I agree with you, Julien. We do have a strong ecosystem. We've been fortunate to have strong government support. So as a startup, we were fortunate to be able to fab our chips in the Quantum Nanofabrication Center in Waterloo, and we'll soon be fabbing in a new Quantum Nanofabrication Center in Bromont, also being built thanks to government support. And I believe it will be one of the only public nanofabrication centers in the world. So, we're not in Intel, we don't have the resources to build our own fab, but we are fortunate to be in Canada where we can have these resources that will be shared amongst the quantum community. So definitely government support has been key in our journey, allowing us to make it to where we are today.
Maybe on a slight, oh sorry, go ahead, Vlad.
So yeah, I totally agree. Like I think government support was definitely essential for us. So thank you for that. And also access to like brain power. Like if you look at quantum computing, who heard about quantum teleportation here? I mean, raise your hands. Like probably more than one, right? So anyway, so was invented by Gilles Brassard, who's a Canadian physicist, and Charlie Bennett, and some others. Like who heard about quantum key distribution? Again, one Canadian scientist on it. Quantum amplitude amplification, many other quantum algorithms. So Canada, if you dig deep into the theory of quantum computing, you realize that many of the fundamental quantum algorithms and stuff that we are right now trying to implement are invented by Canadians. So we all have access to this to this brain power. I mean, we are all connected. Like you meet these people, you talk to them, they give you advice, they tell you what they think about. So talking to someone like Gilles Brassard about, hey, what do you think about this? Does it make sense or not? I mean, it's very useful to be able to tap into this brain pool. So I think for us this was extremely important in the developing of the company and looking at what theoretical problem to tackle in some of the compiling stuff that we are doing. Thanks.
Yeah, maybe just to add on that brain power piece, the other big part has been immigration. About 55% of our company has come across on some sort of work permit. So due to the nature of quantum computing, you're going to pull talent from all the top places around the world, whether it be Australia, Singapore, Germany, US, and it's incredibly easy to actually attract them to Canada, and very easy to get them on the path to citizenship pretty quickly. The other part that maybe I'll mention, it was said, there's been a lot of phenomenal support for early stage and academic quantum research in Canada. I do have to say that one thing we need to do a lot better on is on understanding how do you actually bring this to market. That last step, commercialization piece, historically Canada has not been great at, and in quantum it's especially a big challenge just because, at least on the hardware side, it's incredibly capital intensive. And traditionally we haven't had that level of capital in Canada dedicated towards deep tech. I know the government is focusing on doing a few things like the CGF, the Canadian Growth Fund, the BDC Deep Tech Fund, but in order to compete with Australia, Singapore, Korea, really similar sized economies that are doing much bigger and much more focused things, we'll have to do a lot better.
And in addition to just echoing a lot of the sentiments that have already been mentioned, I'd like to point out explicitly that Canada has punched above its weight in terms of supporting quantum technologies, so that shouldn't go unstated. But we have a great culture in our universities. D-Wave is wedged between UBC and SFU. Also Sherbrooke and Waterloo are standouts among many other universities in Canada. It seems kind of, as a proud Canadian, it seems obvious.
Thank you. And with Canada being 40 million people, very big geography, but relatively small population, Canadian companies have to think globally right from the outset. And I think it's an interesting time right now in the quantum space as we're moving ahead with commercialization. We're moving towards the fault-tolerant era. And also with this, seeing more geopolitical tensions, focus on export controls, focus on building up the supply chain. What do you see the role of Canadian companies like yours on the global stage for quantum?
Well, I mean, I think that D-Wave will continue to be a leader in technology, and I think in terms of international agreements, I think Canada does a really good job diplomatically. Maybe I don't know the ins and outs of it that well, but I feel like we're in a very good position to weather any geopolitical storms that might come up.
One key one is missing, the U.S.-Canada one. I'm looking Michael's way right now. If he could make that happen this week, it'd be great. But yeah, to add to that, this week, right? We're here. It's a DC. I mean, I think one great thing is also the collaborative nature right now. It's sad that we're still far away from delivering on the true economic value of quantum, but the good part of that is we're all in the same room as competitors technically, and we're happy to work on solving the big problems. So I really see for all the Canadian companies, there'll really be a big focus on continuing the talent development. Xanadu currently is working with over 100 universities worldwide in order to develop quantum curricula, make sure that Penny Lane is being taught in those universities. I think a big part on fundamental quantum research. So for example, us and Nord Quantique have very similar approaches to error correction, even though we're working on very different modalities. And we need to make sure that we create institutes that are focused on that type of error correction to solve some of the big challenges moving forward. And the last one is the quantum supply chain. I think there's a really big opportunity right now for Canada, for the US to be pivotal players in all the components that are actually going to go into these large-scale quantum computers, whether they be photonic devices, whether they be superconducting, whether they be amplifiers, anything else. This is really now just a budding industry that we need to support and nurture to make sure that we can have a large piece of that moving forward.
I think it's a great point about having a really strong North American alliance and allyship in this going forward. Janic, would you like to share?
Yeah, sure. So I think a little bit as our colleague said, so as quantum hardware developer, it's important that we bring the technology out there and we develop something that is useful. So we're doing a lot of the stuff as it was discussed, engaging with the Canadian community mostly on the research side, making sure that some of the innovation we can explore more, we can drive into the hardware development. This is true also on the algorithm and integration with other workflows. So we are working with different companies, one in Japan, Sumitomo Corporation, to develop also algorithm for fault-tolerant quantum computing and understand this market. So as quantum industry players, so this is also our job to make that link. And for example, something that is special about North, so we're not covering, at this stage, we're not covering all the aspects of the stack. And this is why also we are building these partnerships with different software company, different end user to make sure that our technology can be used and bring toward fault tolerance quantum computing. And again, so I think this is one key aspect of the Canadian ecosystem, especially places like Sherbrooke, which has a very strong gathering momentum that is coming there. A lot of companies are setting foot in there, and this is a great moment, I think, for these sort of collaboration across the industry.
So I think for us, I mean, the government of Canada was instrumental in facilitating some of the international collaborations that we have. So for example, we have one collaboration with New Quantum. You might have heard Carmen talking about it yesterday on a panel. So we collaborate with them. Basically, they are a hardware provider. We collaborate with them. We build a software for their stack. We are looking at how to distribute quantum computation on small computational nodes. And I think Canada is very, very well placed. You basically go, you apply for a project, and then what you're going to be asked for is hey, what is your, for example, we are a software company. What does your software do? Is it better than anything else? And if it is, then you get it. So that's how it is. So I think it's yeah, it's fundamental for us to have international collaboration, to get our software stack well known, and also to learn more about the details of like quantum hardware that we are working with. So that's it.
Thanks, Vlad. Alexandra.
One thing I would note is that Canada was probably a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of recognizing quantum early on and building out its own capabilities. And we can see now in the last couple of years that there are a lot of other nations around the world who are sort of waking up to this reality that you're going to need local capabilities in quantum. And so one role that we can play on the global stage, and especially with our expertise at Anyon, is to help those other nations build out their capabilities. We have built expertise along the vertical stack, along the vertical hardware stack. We can offer different services and different products, and so we can continue on our own journey through commercial projects with these different nations as we play that role on the global stage.
Thank you, appreciate it. And we're coming to the end. I just want to say a big thank you to all our panelists for being part of this, and a big thank you to all of you for joining us as well. It's really exciting to see what's happening in the Canadian quantum ecosystem and see what decades of early investment have led to and what it's on the research side, but now also as this technology is moving towards commercialization, what we're seeing on the company front. So if you have any questions or curiosities, there's some pitch books around too with more information about the companies that are here as well. They're around to come chat with them, and if you'd like to connect with anyone else in the quantum ecosystem as well, with Quantum Industry Canada, we work with about 70 organizations across the country in this space, and also our colleagues from Quebec are here too. So thank you very much, appreciate it.